Welcome to the Outstanding Women Leaders Podcast, or OWLS.
We give a hoot.
I'm your host, Kristen Aguirre, a former journalist turned young stroke survivor, now hustling to make my dream of becoming a national speaker come true. Now, I'm currently jobless, but not loveless. I come from a very tight-knit Mexican family. It's the most important thing in my life and my motivation every morning to wake up and work. I want to buy us all a big house, but not live together. That's where I draw the line. Now, I'm accompanied by my resilient and quirky co-host, Terri Eades, who, like a cat, has 9 lives when it comes to careers and relationships. Girl, really quick, introduce yourself.
Thanks, Kristen. I am quirky and hilarious co-host and founder of OWL Professional Coaching.
And adorable.
Like a cat, thank you. And like a cat, I've landed on my feet a few times when it comes to careers and relationships. I'm a divorce thriver, toxic relationship survivor, and the queen of transitioning careers. How do you move from high school history teacher to CrossFit gym owner to nonprofit CEO and fundraiser and now full-time professional podcaster and coach, you ask? Add a touch of bold here, a dash of brave there, and just a pinch of losing your mind, and boom, Transitionista is born.
Ooh, that's new. Is that a new line?
Ooh, you didn't like it the first time I told you.
I think that's so cute. Are you sure? It just needed to grow on me a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So after proclaiming 2020 our year, my girl Kristen and I launched this podcast, Outstanding Women Leaders. And we are here to help connect with women leaders around the world, share their story, and inspire you to give a hoot in your own community. We're also hoping to inspire you to use your superpowers and be your bold, brave, unique self. But enough about us. Today is a very special guest. This is one of my favorite owls, Julie McKay. Julie is a dear friend to me. She's a boss babe. She's an entrepreneur. She's switched careers. She said, goodbye, big salary. I will work my way up in a field I love. And now this year, she's enrolled in not just nursing school. You're going to get what are you going to get?
I'm going to get an accelerated BSN to add on to my already MBA.
Right. So Julie is
awesome.
Brilliant. We love her. And why she's so special and joining us today from Happy Hour. So we apologize if you're tuning in with a little bit of noise, but Jules is so nice to join us. We are celebrating 2 years of my mom passing away. And this amazing owl drove me to LaGuardia, which means nothing unless you've been to LaGuardia. It is a third world country. It is literally committing your day to being in a car. And when I called Julie and she's like, what do you need, babe? I'm like, I need a ride to LaGuardia because
Don't we all need those friends that you just call and they're like, what do you need?
Yes. And I mentioned this before we got on, but Julie just shows the fuck up for you. Sometimes in ways you don't want her to, like she'll show up and she'll fucking tell you how it is when you don't want to hear it.
She's a mirror friend.
She is a mirror friend.
Mirror to your face. That's Katie and I were talking about that earlier because Katie's definitely a mirror friend for me, especially when I'm having a bad day. She's like, someone's crabby today. I'm like, shut up. We all need those friends.
The truth, right?
So how did you guys meet?
We actually met at church.
We did. We met at a dinner. Yeah, Kristen, you'll love this story. We met at a dinner group that I was not a part of, but she was. And I had lived here for maybe a month or 3 months. And so at that point, I was telling everybody my story that would listen. so I was trying to find my person. And we left with Julie. And Julie and I left, and she was going on a date at the Turtle Club. Jules, do you remember this? And yes. And so she's like, make sure this guy isn't creepy. Like, take a look at him as we go by. And then she started her own dinner group after that, and I immediately signed up.
What is the Turtle Club?
It's not.
It is like it's gone. An oldie but goodie in Hoboken.
Yeah, the Turtle Club is where I met my first couple girlfriends. Shocking, I know. I go to bars to pick up girls and guys, Kristen.
Katie meets everyone at bars. She's like, oh, I found somebody who can put our show on Apple. I'm like, okay, where? She's like, I met him at a bar. I'm like, okay. She's like, someone's going to make our shirts. I'm like, okay. She's like, met him at a bar, obviously.
I met Anya and Caroline at a bar, and I spent New Year's with Anya and Caroline one year. So yeah, and
But how did Jules become your person? Like, what were the moments that you're like, okay, this is a good person? Because it doesn't happen overnight, you know?
Jules,
like
how did you become my person? That's a great question.
I mean, I think in the beginning, we probably did like some people trauma bond a little bit. Like you had just come off of a really tough situation, and I had come out of a tough relationship as well. And you're just kind of searching for, you know, other women that are strong. And I feel like you kind of gravitate to those kind of people. And
Yes.
I loved Katie immediately because she was everything that I'm not, as far as like personality and just being like quirky and creative and fun, where I am like very analytical and to the facts and details, and like, you know, you just need sometimes like a breath of fresh air that's like not your own.
Sure, 100%.
Aww.
Katie, what about Jules did you gravitate to?
Jules is like everything I'm not. She's put together. You know, she's always dressed so beautifully. She's so professional. We're similar in that we are driven and we work so hard to get what it is we want. And Jules is that friend where I actually was dating a guy at the time, and he said to me, "What's it like to be friends with so many women that are successful when you're not?"
Who said this? Oh.
Yeah, the guy that Julie almost had a heart attack over me dating again.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Carl,
the Carl Murphy of my life, exactly. And that moment, like he's measuring success by money, and I've got divorced and he lost all my money. So for his perspective, you know, that was not success, and it's easy to get caught up in that idea that is what success is. And Julie is fucking successful. I love it. And she inspires me to like give a shit about what I look like sometimes, give a shit about money is freedom. Jules just bought her own place, and it's fucking gorgeous.
It's amazing.
And she's just a badass. And
I love female friendships so much.
Yeah. And she said no to a wedding where I said yes. Jules knows how to turn down a proposal if it's not for her.
Oh my goodness.
So take me back to 2 years ago.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, I got a phone call. It was around 7 a.m. my time, and it was the hospital. And they said, we need you to come to the hospital. Your things are not okay. I'm like, well, I'm in Jersey. I just flown back, and my mom was supposed to be going into a nursing unit to rehab that day. And
so she had already been sick, your mom?
She had a heart attack, and her kidneys were failing, and her kidneys came back around. There was still some blockages, but they were able to do an angiogram and put a stent in one. I went and saw her, thought she was going to get stronger. And I remember asking in like the smallest voice I could barely muster. And I said, "Is she okay?" And the nurses got to know my mom. She worked at at a hospital, and her voice cracked, and she's like, "No." And I knew in that moment that she wasn't going to live. Like she did not have the fight in her that she had every other time things had happened. But you still have to hope. But the worst part was that they couldn't get a hold of my dad. He had gone home to let the dog out that morning and had taken a nap. And so I called a lot, and he didn't answer. I left a message on the answering machine because thank God my parents were still living in the 90s, so they still have it. And then I called my aunt, who was living with my grandmother because she has Alzheimer's at the time. And I was like, "You got to go get dad up." But my aunt's like, "Well, I got to get grandma up first because I can't leave grandma alone." And in that course of time, my dad finally answers the phone. And honestly, I'm really grateful that I got to talk to my dad and not the hospital. I'm grateful for that moment, as hard as that was. But for an hour, and so he was on his way to see her, and she was an hour away. And I didn't know until later that my dad pulled over when he got outside the hospital a couple of miles and asked them if she was alive. And they said no. So she went into cardiac arrest, and they weren't able to revive her. And so I took a nap. I like laid down after I talked to my dad and I just closed my eyes and like you're praying, like you're doing whatever. And I know I fell asleep at some point because I woke up with the phone. My dad and I FaceTimed and we FaceTimed with my mom. He did not want to let her hand go. He was so sad. And then I went into, all right, let's do this mode. Text Julie, like I need a ride to the LaGuardia and like Julie probably called Julie. I honestly don't remember the blur after that, other than I booked a flight. It was in LaGuardia. I just decided I just didn't know what I needed to do for 2 hours. And instead of pacing my 600 square foot apartment, Julie finds it hilarious. I booked a nail appointment. I went and got a pedicure and a manicure so that my paws would look nice for mom's funeral, because I knew that wouldn't be something I would have time to do. And then I sat down and I sent some text messages.
Julie, what's it like to be the person, for somebody who's falling apart?
I mean, I try to imagine that being in Katie's shoes, and I'm really close to my mom. So I just was like thinking about it from that perspective. And it was funny because, not funny, haha, but like funny how like when someone's going through something and you just know they're doing whatever they can do to survive, you just want them to feel like that's okay, And so she called me and she's like, can you take me to LaGuardia? And I was like, I can absolutely do whatever you need me to do right now. And I was just like, what can I do to help? And she's like, well, I just have to go get a manicure, pedicure. And like, while I was thinking in my head, like, wow, that was a strange, sort of request. Like looking back, it was like, what do you do in that moment to survive? Like Katie had no idea what to do. So I was like, oh, great. Yeah. Like go get your nails done. I'll come get you, which is crazy because at that moment she was doing something that I would probably totally do, but maybe in my moment, I wouldn't even think to do that. But I'm always consistent. Like, if you look good on the outside, you'll probably feel good on the inside. So like I can totally justify her actions.
A funeral is not like a wedding exactly, but I'm on display, right? Mom was
right. You're saying thank you to everybody. Yeah.
Dad's got cancer on his nose because that's what happened right after mom died. His cancer popped up. So, someone had to look good in the family.
Well, it's easy to be like, what a weird thing to do to get your nails done if you don't put yourself in those shoes. But like you said, you had 2 hours to kill. What are you doing in 2 hours knowing your mother's dying?
What's crazy is that I don't actually remember much after crying with dad on the phone up until getting my nails done. But what I do remember of getting my nails done, I sat down, I texted my ex-husband to let him know that my mom had died. I was there when his dad died. So like literally I was in the hospital with him. So I wanted to give him that courtesy and just let him know. And in case you're wondering how he responded, he wrote back, well, she was living on borrowed time, wasn't she?
I fucking hate him. That is
second that.
What the fuck response is that? She was living on borrowed time. Aren't we all?
It had been 10 years since she had her first heart attack. And my ex-husband and I were together at the time. And so once you're diagnosed with congestive heart failure, he's not wrong. You are living on borrowed time.
Sure. Don't defend him. No.
Not what I wanted to hear, needed to hear, but whatever. That's what he said. And then I I was dating like 3 different guys at the moment. So I text all of them and let them know. In my defense, like one guy I had been on a date with on Hinge and he was like, what do you need? Like, what's the address? I want to send flowers. He didn't, whatever. And the second one was living in Boston. So like he was an idiot anyway. And then, I was with the third one when my mom had the heart attack and he's a piece of shit. So I was with a bunch of, I wasn't alone guys, but I was kind of alone. So I
find it so interesting you talk about like forgetting certain things. Isn't trauma such a bitch that it like makes you forget things?
I mean, so I just feel like I had to have been on autopilot. I had to have packed a bag. I had to have booked a flight. I vaguely can kind of picture myself sitting at that table and booking a flight, but I booked one the time before, so they're kind of blurred. And then I remember getting in the car with Jules when she picked me up, and she is, she took day off from killing sales so that she could take me in the airport, which was really sweet. And I don't really remember much of the conversation that Jules and I had, but I remember that I was like making her laugh. And like, those things are comfortable for me. Those things are familiar for me, like that. She just made me feel like I could just be myself. Until because once I stepped off that plane, you know, there was no more Katie. It was like, be there for Dad. And
how crucial is it to have like that circle of people around you during trauma for you?
So important. I mean, it's so important for everybody, but for me, especially, I have different friends, like different friend groups, and like, this is my person I can reach out to when I need something. Like, Jules is going to be there. And it's not a coincidence that I reached out to her. And it wasn't like I had to go through a list of a bunch of people. I was like, Jules is my person and she will help me with this. And I had girlfriends that called and FaceTimed with me when I was home. And like, that was their gift to me. And I just feel like there's so many angels on earth Whitney had mentioned that on our podcast, right? And there's so many people that are there. And you just can't get through it without them.
Mm-hmm. Julie, is it difficult to be that person for somebody going through something traumatic? For you, was it hard?
No, it's not. I feel like I've gone through, a lot of trauma in my life. So like when it comes to like, okay, it's really time to be really strong right now, like I can do that with my eyes closed. So I was happy that she reached out to me because I'm very much like my mom in that sense. Like, we are totally on when it's most important, and like I'd probably break down like a day later or 2 days later post like the actual thing happening.
Did this situation impact your relationship with your mom?
Yeah, I remember after I dropped Katie off and she got out of the car, and I just called her and just said to her I was emotional myself, that I just probably don't tell you enough, or like I let the day get away from me, and I just love you so much and I just need you to know that.
Yes. Yesterday, I think Katie and I were talking about, you and Whitney were telling me like, you should be so grateful you're able to be home right now with your mom, and Rosie is driving me nuts, but because we had that conversation and I knew we were covering this today, that I gave her a hug and I was like, I love you so much and I'm so grateful for you. I mean, I want to strangle you, but I would be lost without you in my life. Katie, so what has the 2 years been like without your mom?
Well, year one was a little bit of a blur. And I went home to spread her ashes with Dad, and then Dad came out of the closet. So we cleaned out Mom's closet. Dad came out of the closet. And so that has been interesting. Like, building a relationship with your father after your mom dies that's been a gift. Like, my mom and I were best buds when I was a kid. Like, she was the woman. She had a magic bag, and whatever you fucking needed was in that damn bag.
Yeah.
And yeah, right. And Dad was just there. And so it's been nice. But it's like, you go through the stages of grief. And so sometimes you feel angry or guilty that Dad gets to have this moment when Mom would have appreciated it so much.
Mm-hmm.
And the hardest part really was watching my dad grieve. I had moments where I'm like, I don't ever want to love someone like that, because I can't, I never thought my dad's heart would not be broken again. I remember when I first started dating Dan, and I had this like moment, just anxiety of thinking about like the day that he dies and how devastating I'd be. But he's already assured me he's living till 118.
Perfect.
God already told him that. So I'm like, all right, great. I'll be 108 at that time. Like, whatever, we are age difference, 7 years. I'll be a little older, but whatever, 111. But navigating Dad has been challenging, and then helping Dad come out of the closet. So I didn't really have, I feel like, time to grieve my mom until the first year was over. And I made terrible choices in my grief. And Julie was there to be like, bitch, you are not dating this guy. Because I just didn't want to be alone. And I just felt, I didn't want to think, and I don't know. It was just kind of a mess for that first year. and my family doesn't really know how to grieve. And that's hard.
More instead of just like kind of reaching for that guy that was there.
Yeah, like we just ignore stuff and like let it go. And my dad was feeling all the feels, and I felt like, well, I'll just be strong, and then I don't have to feel those feels. And so you talk about like taking a year from your stroke and not really being able to cry. I cried at my mom's funeral. Like I was on medication, so I could cry, but I didn't really cry until after that first year. Like the first
like
year,
feel everything.
yeah. And so this year when I realized, I was like, oh, it's gonna be 3 years. Can you believe it's been 3 years? Like it's only been 2. That second year went so, not even just so fast, but I just really believe that my mom is up there like doing shit. Like I made a joke at the funeral about how mom's like up in heaven, like rearranging furniture because that's who she is, and she'll tell you it looks better her way. But in year 2, dad got a man, Katie got a man, her best friend Gail got a man. Like mom is handing shit out.
He's making things happen up there with the big guy.
And I don't know if we can apply for sainthood with the Catholic Church just yet, but if you guys could just start praying at Terri Eades, I think we could. I mean,
Terror Bear.
Finding a man in New York is like finding a needle in a fucking haystack. And there's no goddamn haystacks in New York. So Jules, I know you're looking for a man. Start praying to Terri Eades.
Yeah, noted.
Handing out
noted.
I feel like Julie doesn't need a man. Katie, what was your mom's superpower?
It's a great question. Her funeral is when I really realized who my mom was.
How so?
Her high school friends came through, like people that knew my mom, like when, and then they said like, and every single one of them mentioned how funny she was, her unique laugh. They mentioned how she would just find that one person at school that didn't really have any friends, or was like the girl that didn't have a lot of money, and so my mom cut her hair for her. And I remember my mom telling me these stories, but I just didn't realize like I'm a lot like my mom. And so I think, I don't know, my mom's superpower, she just lit up a room when she was in the right room. And I think that my mom spent so many years in the wrong room, and I relate to that as someone that's been in the wrong room where you can't really shine. And I remember when I was a kid, she would go to the Christmas parties, the only time of the year that my parents like would have an overnight. I would stay with grandma, and she rewrote all the lyrics to the karaoke songs about the people in her office. And like the last job I just had, I rewrote Christmas songs to encourage people to donate money. Like, I think, I don't know what what her superpower would be is her magic bag of just lighting up a room. Like she has had whatever you needed in that room. My mom would take care of that need, whether it was a friend to talk to, a tampon because you didn't bring one, someone to tell a joke and make you laugh. Like that was my mom. And I didn't really appreciate that until that moment.
Julie, do you see any of those attributes in Katie?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in some of my darkest moments, Katie's been there. And it was funny because she came over the other night and we were there with my girlfriend Alexis, and she was like, what is like one of your favorite things about Katie? And I was like, one of my favorite things is her ability to listen. Like she's one of those people where if you tell her something, you know she's truly listening, because then she responds and asks you a question that's like parallel to what you're discussing. And it's something really interesting because most people, I'm finding at my age, listen to respond. And it's very hard to find people that are good listeners. Even when you think that people are listening, they're generally not.
100%. Katie, where you are in life right now, what advice do you think your mom would give you?
Wow, in this particular moment, it's funny, I woke up and I was telling you how I saw this guy that made $10,000 out of a penny. And I was thinking about my engagement ring and my wedding ring and how I haven't sold it yet, because when I went to first sell it, they wanted to give me like $400. And I'm like, oh, it's gonna be complicated. I'm gonna have to go to eBay and like do all. My mom's advice right now, because I'm looking at going back to school just like Julie, so she's inspiring me to do this thing, is fucking sell the ring and invest in your education. You've been holding on to it for a reason, and it's not because I have any sentimental value. It's because I'm fucking lazy. I haven't sold it yet because it involves research and like stuff. But I think my mom would say like, go for it. I'm proud of you. Like my mom knew the shit. And I think she would also say, I told you so about fucking Dwayne.
Moms are always right.
Julie must have missed that part at her happy hour. Jules, did you catch that?
Sorry, I keep muting myself because I know my background is loud.
No worries. I said my mom's advice to me would be, or what she would say is, I fucking told you so about Dwayne.
Isn't it crazy how when you get older, you're like, my mom is right all the time. It's
Julie
so
told me so
1000%.
too. Julie told me so too. And actually, that's what I really love about your friendship, Jules. And I mean, there's so many aspects, but even right now, like you're at a fucking happy hour and you're like, your mom died, so I'm going to come on this podcast. But you're just there for me, a person, no matter what. Even when you tell someone they don't want you told me what I didn't want to hear in that moment, and I was like, you're not the right friend I need in my life. But the reality is that you were a real fucking friend that I needed in my life. I didn't need someone to blow smoke up my ass and tell me it was fucking fine. And I did pay my therapist to tell me the same shit you told me.
These friendships are so rare, I think. To like have a friend that you love, to trust, to be like, listen, bitch, this guy sucks dick, so stop. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to be so vulgar.
Nah, it's fine. I love it. Julie will just tell you like it fucking is. And she might tell her friends about it too. but like whatever she'll tell her friends about you and how it is, she'll fucking tell you that too. And I love that about her.
Yeah, sometimes an attribute, sometimes not.
Julie, I can't wait to meet you soon.
I know. Seriously, that would be so great.
Kristen's going to be on the East Coast for a couple weeks, so we will have her.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Sushi Wednesdays.
Sushi Wednesday.
Oh, this is the Sushi Wednesday friend.
Yeah, that's her.
Got it. Okay.
We'll take an
Katie
Uber.
was just saying about how much she missed it.
I do. We had sushi last night, but I had to drive and be responsible. So, one bottle per two girls.
I'm glad you're being safe.
Julie, thank you so much for joining us today. I don't want to keep you in the happy hour. I just appreciate you being here. And
wait, Julie, before you go, I just have one last question. What do you think Katie's superpower is?
I think that Katie has I think a superpower really is being able to listen well and respond with a courteous response. But I think that Katie has this infectious excitement. Like if you're really excited about something and you go to Katie and you tell her, she is equally as excited as you are, if not more. And you leave there being like, go team, like we can do this.
I'm glad you remember that, because I remember a time when I was not excited for you, when you were going to buy that one place in Hoboken.
Yes.
I drank too much that night.
Oh my God.
I was not excited for you, but you have the best fucking place now, and I am excited about that.
Katie, what's Julie's superpower?
Julie's superpower. She's so fucking resilient. She's resilient. And she's still soft. A lot of people can be resilient and tough, but Julie she's still soft. She's still that. Maybe that's where I identify her with a little bit. This girl has been, talk about a cat with 9 lives when it comes to relationships. And she's kicked some ass in a couple careers too.
Girl, you have great skin and you have great eyebrows.
Yeah, girl, you want to plug yourself and talk about why you've got such great skin and eyebrows?
I need to know.
Yeah. I sell toxin and filler for a living for a fantastic company, which I won't mention because they always get weird about that, but that's all good. So yeah, skincare and anti-wrinkles are really in my regimen.
Yeah, your
thank
skin is where it's at, honey. There's like no flaws. And those eyebrows, I love them.
So great. And this is a girl that
Thank
can't
you.
go to the salon because we're still on lockdown. That's how great this girl always
I
looks.
love it. Julie, thank you so much for coming on. You were amazing. It was so great to meet you and see your relationship.
Thank you,
with
lady.
Katie.
Thank you, ladies. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jules. I will see you for our next sushi date.
Can't wait.
Before we go today, you guys can don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Outstanding Leaders. You can find us on Facebook. We do Twitter. It's Hoot About Humor. But more importantly, Kristen, where can they find this podcast now?
Oh yeah, girl, we are on Apple Podcasts now. Are we on? We're on Spotify too, no?
We are not on Spotify because you can't have video. They only allow audio.
They don't want to see our faces.
If you're listening right now and you know that workaround for Spotify, and or if you are Spotify and just want to hook us up because you want our content on your because we're great, like that would make sense. But if not, what we would really love you to do is go on to that podcast and just hit the follow button.
And subscribe to us. Come on.
Subscribe. If you subscribe.
And if you're already a subscriber, write us a review. We need the reviews.
Yeah, review, subscribe. And if you do, we're going to show you some love right back because we are releasing bonus episodes. Soon. They're really good and really, the first one is on what are you grateful for? Some great quotes.
And if you're not sick of Katie and I yet, God bless you.
But if you subscribe, you're gonna know when these episodes come out before people on social media come out. So
yes,
that makes you kind of a big deal. Special, exactly. Yep. Jules, did you make a friend over there?
Yeah, making friends at happy hour.
I love it.
Love it.
We're somewhat similar. Jules always makes friends at happy hour. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.